Hello everybody, welcome back to Support Gaming Review. I just woke up today. I decided I'm going to make a video on the Xbox One original. So, even though I made a video saying how PlayStation 5 is my favorite modern home console, I also kind of made fun of the Xbox One. I kept this original Xbox One in my bin. I haven't used it in a while because it started to have some issues where it would make a buzzing noise for some reason. But I did take it out, and I did actually play it a few times now, recently. And I do think the original Xbox One is still a great budget system. The original Xbox One, in my opinion, is very reliable. I've had this thing for 2 years. You could use the new Xbox Series controls on it. Not to mention that the original Xbox One has a power supply that's actually outside the system. And the reason why this is a positive is because if your power supply breaks, you can easily replace your original Xbox One power supply, which is very easy to replace on an original Xbox One. But yeah, how do I feel about the original Xbox One in 2025? Is the system still worth it? Is it a good budget console? Well, you can find these for like $60, $70 to $100 on eBay and other places. The Xbox One original is actually pretty cheap nowadays. And since Microsoft raised the prices of the Xbox Series, making the Xbox Series X a $600 console, the Xbox One original looks like a system that's a little bit more better to get because it's cheaper. You got all your games, so why pay $600 for basically the same thing when you could have the original Xbox One? Sure, the original Xbox One isn't going to be as fast. It's not going to be as performance-wise, it's not going to be as good, but this console still plays very well. Yes, it takes some time to load, but I actually have patience. But you can play your Gears of War games, your Halo games, and your old school Call of Duty games all on the original Xbox One. So I do think it's a good budget option in 2025. The original Xbox One is also very big, very beefy, has very good ventilation, so you shouldn't really run into overheating issues, unlike the PlayStation 4 that's very loud, and the fan, you can actually hear the noise. This system has always been quiet because it has such a huge fan, and Microsoft learned the lesson with the Xbox 360 because they made the original Xbox One. They wanted to make it very massive and huge with just full events and a huge fan so that they don't run into the red ring of death. And actually, it worked very well for them. The Xbox One original, the failure rate wasn't as massive as the Xbox 360. So Microsoft did make massive improvements with this console. And, nowadays, with the Xbox Series X being a $600 console for its performance and everything, it looks like the Xbox One original still is a great budget option because you're still getting that Xbox experience, even though it's last gen, but it is the cheapest one to buy. It's cheaper than the other Xbox Ones, it's cheaper than the Xbox Series S and X, and you get those games. You get the same, you can use a new series controller with it. Replaceable power supply, very easy to replace on these. And I'd say that the original Xbox One is actually one of the most reliable Xboxes because of its size, because of the power supply being on the outside of the system. It's just the most reliable in my experience. My Xbox One S had I think it was like a disconnecting issue with the controller, where it would always disconnect no matter what I did. The Xbox Series X I actually got for Christmas a while ago. That thing started to break and had Bluetooth, Wi-Fi chip issues. But for my personal experience with Xboxes, and then especially with the 360, the original Xbox One is still in my collection. And even though it feels like it's on its last legs because of the way it sounds and everything, it actually still runs good. Who knows how many more years I can actually get out of this system. Maybe I can get lucky and get maybe, 2 more years, 3 more years with it, but the original Xbox One is just a very reliable, sturdy console. Yes, it's massive, it's huge, it's kind of awkward, it looks like a VCR, and a lot of people like to give the design crap, but I actually think the design's good. I actually like what Microsoft did with the original Xbox One. Everyone wants a smaller package, everyone wants to have a smaller console. But with a smaller system and with a power supply being inside the console, there could be reliability issues in the future. Those are the reasons why the Xbox One original is still a console I use and still something I take out every once in a while. Sure, I say negative things about Xbox before, which I've chosen a different path now, and yes, I've given the Xbox brand a whole bunch of shit because I don't like the direction they've gone to, and Microsoft has really ruined the Xbox brand, in my personal opinion. But during the Xbox One era, I can still say I liked these consoles because they actually still cared about the Xbox brand. They still were making games for the Xbox One. They still actually focused on the Xbox One as a game system. The Xbox One had 58 million consoles sold, and for Microsoft, it actually was a profitable console, unlike the Xbox Series. But the Xbox One, it still had its exclusive games before the company decided to go multi-platform. They still focused on this system. This is basically the last time Xbox actually really cared. Yes, the 360 was one of the best sold and one of the best generations they've had. And even though they completely fucked up the launch of the Xbox One, it still was able to make 58 million sales. 58 million of these were sold. And it was a console that Microsoft still actually gave a shit about. It was a console that still, yes, there was some negative and bad things about it, but it was still about the console experience. It was still about owning that Xbox One that made a huge difference from what we see nowadays with Xbox, where now you could own everything or anything and have it be an Xbox. So those are some of the things I really don't like about the new generation of Xbox. But looking back at the original Xbox One, actually taking a minute to play it, experience it, and to look at mine I have in my collection, I do like this console. It's not a bad console. And if I'm going to play my Xbox games, I usually just take out my Xbox One original, because the original Xbox One still works amazingly. It still runs, even though it's very slow and it feels like it's going to blow up. It also feels like a tank because of how huge it is. And honestly, I think the Xbox One original is still worth it in 2025. Because again, it's a budget option, it's reliable, it's probably one of the most reliable Xboxes they've ever made. And of course, you get those games. You get Xbox One games, you get the backwards compatibility, you get all these nice things. There's even Halo Infinite could work on an Xbox One original. So even though I do have my PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch stuff, yes, there still is a use for the Xbox One original in my collection. And even though I gave the console shit, even though I've said things like, I don't use this console anymore, or whatever, recently I pulled it out. I was like, you know what? I'm going to play it, give it some love. And I do like the experience. I can't really deny that fact. I can't really lie about it. I honestly do like the Xbox experience. But my biggest issue with Xbox isn't really with Xbox. It's with Microsoft. It's with the changes they've made. There's so many things they actually did right with the Xbox One. Backwards compatibility, they focused on the console. It actually did pretty well on sales. People actually liked the system and actually gave a shit. And that's very different to what we see nowadays with the Xbox Series. Sure, the Xbox Series are nice game systems, but there's no point in having one nowadays. But if you're somebody who just wants to play, games and you just care about a console experience, you could just buy the original Xbox One in 2025, and you have a pretty damn good experience. But anyway, I'm gonna end the video. Hope you all enjoyed. Leave a like, comment down below what you think about this video. Yes, surprisingly, I made an Xbox video that's actually positive. But, you know, sometimes I over-exaggerate. Sometimes I'm a little dramatic, you know. Sometimes I do things to get views. That's just what people do on YouTube. But, I just want to make a video about the system. I do think it's a good console. Sometimes I actually prefer the Xbox One original over my PlayStation 4 because it's so quiet and, you know, it's just great, you know. But anyway, I'm in the video. Hope you all enjoyed. Leave a like, comment down below what you think about the original Xbox One, especially in 2025 as a budget console. And yeah, that's all I want to say. Let me know if you ever owned one of these or still own one of these, and let me know what you think about this console. But I hope you all have a lovely day or night, and I hope you I hope you just keep playing awesome games. But anyway, peace out, and this has been the Xbox One original. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Look at that sexiness.